Hi, my name is Peter Hayes, and I would like to read for you a book called Without Words, which I co-wrote with Beti Rosen. Illustrations are by Daniel Azzolai, and I would like to dedicate this reading to Daniel Azzolai. Unfortunately, he passed away recently. This is a picture of Daniel, and I'd like to do this in his honor. Luiz loved Brazil and the city of Rio de Janeiro, where he grew up. He loved riding his bike, children's theater, samba music, and black beans for lunch. He loved soccer and fireworks on New Year's Eve. There were warm beaches and sunshine every day. That is, until the 8-year-old boy and his family had to move to the United States. Most stayed behind, his grandparents, cousins, aunts, and uncles. Louise hated saying goodbye, especially to Aunt Swaley. She had taught him to draw. His new home in America did not look like the shows he had seen on Brazilian TV. Instead, home was a gray, ugly-looking town near a large city. There were no beaches, and November was freezing, not at all warm like in Brazil. It wasn't much fun staying locked up at home or lost inside a giant shopping mall where Luiz and his parents always struggled to understand the signs. "We must learn English," his mother and father insisted. But everybody at home always slipped into speaking Portuguese. It was much easier. In Brazil, Luiz was a native. In America, he was an immigrant, one who was lonely and sad. "We'll go back and visit," his parents promised. When? In school, the new foreigner sat on the classroom floor. A book was read out loud in English. Luiz did his best to understand. The pictures in several shades of tan and brown began to inspire him. He thought of cashew trees like ones in Brazil. He had seen them last year in Fortaleza, when his family had taken a trip up north to the state of Ceará. So he sketched freshly roasted cashews, good enough to eat. "Nice," said a girl who saw his work. It was nice as far as cashews go, everyone agreed. Surprised by the attention, Luiz felt proud. "Create a book about your life in Brazil," his teacher said, as a homework assignment. "Without words," he responded, getting excited. "Try to write some descriptions in English," she advised. "Share your story with the class." Luiz panicked. "In English? The other kids would laugh at his mistakes." "I will try," Luiz groaned to his teacher. The young illustrator sat himself down on the wooden floor of his tiny bedroom. He picked up one chalk and drew, then another and another. Switching several colors, he soon sketched a picture of himself and his parents. They were inside a theater. Aunt Swaley now sat beside them. He missed her a lot. Together, the family watched a show, the first live performance Luiz had ever seen. The characters, a chicken, a dog, a cat, and a donkey, all wanted a better life. So did Luiz. He sketched a new picture, nighttime, at Copacabana Beach in the city of Rio de Janeiro, where he and his family lived. It was New Year's Eve. Hundreds of people, all dressed in white, stood by the ocean. The little storyteller drew more and more. His mind wandered off. Gently, the Brazilian boy drifted inside the world of his picture and left behind his room in America. Luis wiggled his toe in the Copacabana sand. He felt the gentle waves, the smell of salt water. Fireworks kept splashing across the night sky. He was happy to rejoin the people on his favorite beach in his favorite city. Luis's mother and father also joined him. Together they placed flowers and jewelry on a small boat, then let the tiny vessel float into the ocean. Crossing her eyes, his mother said, "Salve Yamaja, Arenya Doma," or "Bless the Queen of the Sea." Every new year, the family made an offering to the Yamaja, the goddess of salt water. And this year, where it's freezing cold, could Yamaja hear Luis all the way from America? Thoughts of the sandy beach soon disappeared. Across a blank page, Luis sketched a field of dirt. He imagined himself running, surrounded by old friends. "Soccer," he whispered. The young artist went to work. A ball leapt into his new picture. He drilled, dodged other players. He closed in, quick, kick it, bam! He blasted that soccer ball between the goalie's legs. The drawing was done. He could now relive his first goal again and again and again. In every picture, Luis smiled, always. Brazil was a happy place. America made him sad and miserable. For hours, Luis drew. In his mind, he moved freely from memory to memory. Pictures covered every inch of his bedroom floor. He stopped eating, stopped playing, stopped sleeping, just taking short naps. And school? Hadn't his teacher asked him to create a story for homework? Yes, she had. However, these pictures weren't really a story, but images of his old life. One he wanted back. Luis lifted up his head when his mother and father peeked in. "We are picking up a special friend tomorrow morning," they said in English. "Want to come?" "No, thank you," he answered in Portuguese. He did not ask who the friend was. His parents understood, but felt a little sad and worried. Next morning, Luis was stunned. While he slept, someone had gathered up all his drawings and bound them into a book. What's going on? He wondered. Curious, he flipped through each page. He saw pictures of himself that he had not drawn. Huh? One picture was of street children and two kids who knocked Luis down while a third rode off with his bike. He remembered this. It still made him angry. In another new picture, Luis had twisted his ankle playing soccer. Oh yes, that was the time he tried to score his second goal. Refusing to pass the ball, he ran and crash. He slammed into another player. His ankle hurt for a long time. "Who put these strange drawings into my story?" Luis yelled out loud. "I did," said a voice. Luis appeared. Aunt Sway Lee appeared. Nobody told him she had arrived yesterday from Brazil. Thrilled, Luis gave her a big hug. He loved the gifts that she had brought and almost forgot about his pictures. But not quite. Angry, he insisted that he wanted only pretty images of his amazing life inside his beloved country, now gone forever. His aunt stared. Slowly, she shook her head. "Not everything in Brazil is so wonderful," she said, speaking in Portuguese. Luis thought it over. Was it all bad? "Your life is neither all bad nor all good," his aunt pointed out. "And America is now your home, not Brazil." "Should I forget about Brazil?" he wondered. "Never," she replied. but don't pretend you don't live here. Learn English. And please don't forget Portuguese, or you and I can't talk to each other anymore. Her soothing smile always melted away her nephew's grumpy feelings. I will try, Louise half groaned to his aunt. Like the images he drew, his aunt's words stuck in his mind. The new immigrant was tired of living in silence. In Brazil, people chatted freely with one another, on the bus, at the beach, in his old classroom. Why did most kids at his new school ignore him? He knew why. They weren't mean. It was hard to communicate. Back in his room, the young artist soon sketched a new picture. Eyes, a mouth, a head with dark hair. He had drawn himself, with no arms, sitting in a room. What room? What was he doing? Louise stared at the unfinished picture and got an idea. He drew many, many books. The room was a library. Next, he drew his classmates sitting beside him. Then he added the missing arms because he now held a book. That's it. He was studying English. At the bottom, he wrote in English, I will try. Louise showed his picture book to the class. Many students offered to teach him English because they were immigrants too, from all over the world. Each had struggled to adjust, but not forget where he or she came from. The teacher encouraged everyone to write his or her own story. So they did, some with words, some without words. And like Louise, each of them promised, I will try. The end. In this book, there's also information about Brazil. And it tells you a little bit about the country, about the food, a little bit about the culture. Although I'm born in the United States, was born in the United States, I have been to Brazil many times with Beti Rosen, and she is from Brazil. So the two of us collaborated again on creating this book, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you.